Hello and welcome to another episode. This time I'll be showcasing the Batarian Brawler. This class is actually rather neat to play. I chose to do the biotic charge work, mainly getting the shield restoration so that I can sustain myself in combat, and using Lash against weaker enemies, because Lash is actually pretty solid overall, but honestly I'm not entirely sure the damage over time talent was worth it, but the recharge speed talent didn't seem overly valuable either. The big thing to keep in mind is the Lash doesn't work on any enemy that's armored, even if you take the shield penetration talent, which I did. The Lash is still only good against unarmored opponents, and as a result, you have to have a plan, basically. And in this case, my plan is to get up in there and punch them. The Batarian Brawler's heavy melee is, I think it's called the Batarian Gauntlet or something like that. It's fairly devastating, and it's actually really fun to cycle between the charge and the Gauntlet. It's also worth noting the Batarian Brawler's other ability, Bladed Armor, does give you extra damage reduction, which is very valuable if you find yourself on the fringes of dying often. But I don't consider Bladed Armor to be as good as things like Barrier and Tech Armor and things like that. The Bladed Armor, rather than giving you power amplification or anything like that, it reflects damage dealt to you in melee, and most of the things that deal damage to you in melee they're just not afraid of you. This group's interesting though. We have 2 Krogans and a Vorcha. We're up against the Geth. The Geth are actually a pretty good opponent for me. You can see the effect of Lash grabbing things. Pulling stuff into walls and things like that is kind of exactly what I want to do. The Lash does a little bit of damage on its own, but a very, very large portion of its damage actually comes from pulling things into walls or physics objects, stuff of that nature. So, do that on Bomber. Bombers are armored targets, and so they're not really susceptible to my tricks. But I can create problems for all these Geth troopers. The Batarian Brawler, I also specialized in, or I took all the health talents, and then you can see the Gauntlet. It's nasty. I took all the health talents, and in retrospect, I'm thinking I probably should have taken some melee damage ones. The Batarians don't have any dodge rolls, much like the Turians and Krogans, but you get a big health pool to mitigate it. But because I've got the biotic charge combos, I don't really need a health pool to speak of. I can get by without it. Let's handle this guy real quick. Actually, this is a blood pack here. Just realized that. Well done, impromptu group. We have created a theme. Do a little bit of charging. The Vorcha's throwing fire. I like fire Vorcha. Grab things with Lash and just chucking them around. It is rather satisfying. Yeah. Krogan's in the camera. What are you gonna do? Oh shit. Damn. Stop. Yeah. And that part is kind of annoying. The Batarian Gauntlet is pretty finicky about its tracking. And so you'll find fairly often. Actually, my hero, I was just in a game with him recently. But I think I was playing a different class and it wasn't going well for me. Getting a little frustrated. And I think I just threw that guy off the map. But against targets that aren't tricky, you can pretty reliably chain your charges into heavy melees. Yeah, in retrospect, I definitely should have picked melee equipment too, which I didn't do, but I should have. Or a weapon that increases melee damage. Either one. Or both. Could have done both. Yeah, fucking prime. Ow, why? My face. My face does not require that. Do you not see it? Nah, shit. So, stagger the pyro, stagger the pyro, stagger the pyro again. Punch the prime. Oh god. This is just... I would not want to be this Geth Prime. He is in a world of hurt here. Hey. And it looks like our Vorcha is using the N7 Crusader, which is another really nasty weapon. The Crusader, which I don't know if I'm going to get. I've been kind of looking forward to it, but it doesn't seem to want to give it to me. The Crusader is a shotgun, but unlike other shotguns, it fires a slug instead of shot. And that makes it rather precise at all ranges, and it kind of behaves less like a shotgun and more like a sniper rifle. Which, if you're expecting a shotgun and you get a sniper rifle, it's a pretty unpleasant surprise. But if you want to use a shotgun for the attachments, but you don't want to have to be right on top of your target, it's an excellent surprise. Make that Krogan's life difficult. Yeah, so Lash, what it does is it actually hits targets and it will pull them toward whatever direction the lash came from, which you can use to pull things off of the map. But because it actually has the pulling effect, you can use it on a Guardian and actually rip their shields off. I was doing that when I was testing this build out, and it works really well. This build overall is surprisingly adept at dealing with Cerberus. The Batarian also has a really nice melee sequence. He does a couple of punches and ends up in another, but it's actually really nice. I enjoy it. Oh yeah. Where you going? And because I have shield piercing, I can hit shielded enemies, even though they would normally be immune to the effect of Lash. I can hit enemies through shields and barriers, but like I said, I can't hit armored enemies regardless of circumstance. However, things like phantoms and rocket troopers and things like that, nemesis, combat engineers, hunters, none of them have armor. Oh god, just staggered forever. It's awful. But every faction has at least a couple of enemies that are shielded or barriered, but not armored. The collectors are one of the worst offenders. Half the collector troops have barriers but no armor. And so a talent like that lets you go through and hit them anyway is a solid choice. But you can see the charge gauntlet combo. It's Very simple, very straightforward. You just have to be kind of careful about aiming the gauntlet because it's a little touchy. But overall, it's a pretty solid combination. I do not want to get in there. The Krogans can lead that charge. He's Prime, however, in the back. Have a bad day now. Everybody get in a pile and have a party. And you can see there the gauntlet will also actually kind of track enemies too and slide me toward them. It tries to be as user friendly as possible, but it still ends up being a little touchy from time to time. This is a very aggressive group, both design and play, which I can get behind. I like aggressive groups. Man, shit, fire. Fire, fire, fire. Fire and bullets. Get up in here. Huh. Fortune. No. Another thing that's worth noting is that you also take reduced damage while you're charging your heavy melee. So things that would normally seem like an atrocious choice, like getting up close and personal with a pyro, aren't really as bad with this build because I can heal myself quickly and I get the damage reduction while charging the heavy melee. That's awesome. That's some latency right there. Charging the button and just nothing. Alright. Back to work. Work. Assassination. Excellent. Oh god, ow. Everything is wrong. I'm making terrible decisions. Deal with that. Get in here with the big guy. Such an aggressive group. You don't usually find groups that happen into just aggressive characters across the board. Normally for that kind of environment you have to have a pre-built group, but yeah, we are all about going hard. There's a pyro behind me. And you can see he did, damn it, he brought down my shields, but it wasn't enough really. So instead, it's punched in the mouth. But like a lot of the other Vanguards, once you commit to charging into a melee with an enemy, one of you is dead. Most of the time. You go in, you don't get back out. So you'll notice every once in a while I'm a little cautious before I start charging in on things. It's because I don't want to bite off more than I can chew usually. Like right here, we have hunters with the pyros and a prime. God damn, just fucking charge. Yeah, there you can see it being touchy with the gauntlet. And here, less touchy. The group is tearing things up pretty well. And because I picked the multi-target charge as well, it also helps with dealing with those crowds to more or less reduce the number of times where going in is a bad decision. Because a lot of my effort is going to be spent with this character just doing this. And if I can mitigate some of the bad parts of charging in, that means I can charge in more often. And, you know, just punch a Gath Prime to death and it's fine. Ow, fuck, ow, fuck! Ah. I screwed up the timing. Gath Primes are still pretty lethal if they can get their little darts off. Or whatever. But, their siege pulses. But... there we go. Yeah, it's funny shooting rockets at people, huh? Alright. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.